Hey guys, so welcome to another video. Today we're going to learn how we can create custom layouts in our Fyne applications. Of course, we have a vertical layout, the horizontal layout, and today we're going to create a custom diagonal layout so that our items can be arranged diagonally. So the first thing we're going to do, we're going to create our custom layout. Of course, we're going to define the project details, and then the first thing we're going to do here is we're going to define our struct, which is going to be our diagonal layout, and then we're going to define the layout itself and how it's going to look like, and then finally we're going to define the main size. So we can define our diagonal layout struct, and the next thing we're going to define our layout itself. You can just reference the diagonal layout. We're going to define the layout. Now in this layout, we're going to define the list of objects that are going to pass into this layout and their respective sizes. So we're going to have objects, and we're going to have Fyne.canvas object, and then we're going to define the file size, which is going to be the Fyne.size. So what you're going to do, the first thing we're going to define the padding, so that when an item is added, it should have a padding, like they should be not overwrite on top of each other, it should be spaced well. So we're going to define the pad, then we're going to say Fyne.new size. So one thing you should know about this, you're going to define the width and the height. So this you're going to use 30 for both width and the height. And then the next thing we're going to do, we have to look through our objects. That is the range of objects that we have supplied, and then after looping through them, for the first one we add padding. So we're going to be moving them around into new positions. So we're just going to say object.move. Then we can define the new position. It's going to be Fyne the new position, and then we're going to define the x and the y. So in our case, the x is just going to be the item index, and then we're going to multiply by the padding width. So in our case, we're just going to define a float 32i, and then you're going to multiply it by the padding dot width, because Fyne will start with the width and then the float 32. Then you're going to multiply it to the padding dot height. Then after moving it, we're going to define the main size, object dot resize. You're going to resize it into the main size dot main size. Then we have defined our layout. The next thing we're going to do, we're going to define our main size. And then for the main size, we're also going to return a look through the list of objects that are going to be defined here. But in this other case, we're going to, for the main size, we're going to return the size of the objects. So just like the other one, we're going to get the padding so that these items are going to be padded well, and then we're going to define, we can just use 10 for now, and then we're going to have to loop through. Then we define the width and the new height. Of course, going to be increasing them so that they can be well spaced. So I'm just going to loop through the objects again, and then we have the range of the objects, and then we're going to define the mean value, which is going to be the object dot mean size, and then we're going to define the width, which is going to be given by the floating item. So it's going to be defined by the floating of I. Then we're going to multiply it by the pad dot width, padding dot width. Of course, it's not defined it. We can just define it here and say h. We can say the default one is going to be 0, and then this one is also going to be 0. And then now we are good to go. And then you're going to add the mean dot width. So this is for the width, and then we're going to have the height as well. H padding min dot pad dot height is going to be height, and then this is going to be the min dot height as well. And then we're going to return the new size. We're going to return the fine with new size, which is going to be the width and the height. Declared and not used. Okay, just call them width. What am I missing here? The new size, width and height undefined. Why are they undefined? What am I missing here? Okay. Like that. So return the width and the height. Find the new size. What am I missing here? Okay, this is not supposed to be defined here. This should be outside the scope here. Okay. Now we have to use this layout. So we're just going to define some few labels here so that we can test them, and then we can say, of course it's an array, so we're going to have fine.canvas objects, a list of objects, of course going to be widget, that new label, then we can say maybe item 1, the first item, and then we can copy that, and then we're going to have 2, 3, and 4, and then now we can use it here. So we can just come and define the content, to define a container dot new. Now here for the new part, the container, we have to define the layout, but we already have our own layout, so it's going to say utils dot diagonal layout, and then we define our labels. So let's run this and see how our new custom layout looks like. Yeah, so as you can see, it's working. The diagonal layout. We can add a new item here. You can call this 5. Let's, of course, you can come and change this, the padding, so that you can maybe increase the width and height. And then you can have your item. So guys, that's how you define your custom layouts in Fyne. And thank you for watching. See you in the next video.